Deathscyp here from YCG, your casual gamer. Welcome to this intermediate level sound editing into Unreal Engine 4. That being said, you should understand those three topics that you see on the screen right now. These are all separate episodes on this basic of the sound editing into Unreal Engine 4 to get you started to understand the sound effect. Now, if you understand all these principles, we're going to be applying them to recreate this outside scene that you see over here. And now again, this is just a basic with free sounds that I got online. They're going to be free for you guys to take afterward if you want to use them in your practice. But basically what we have over here is a random pace of birds chirping in the background. You have a wind effect that's happening and a general feel for the environment so that you feel like you're inside an outside scene. Also, you have this nice stream that you can hear at the bottom of us, and if you get far enough you won't hear it anymore. Now for the sounds when you're stepping, these are going to be in a separate episode because these are actually smart physical material properties that we hooked up to the animation rig of our character. So stay tuned. Alright, so let's start off by going to get our sound. So I already have my sounds over here, but there's one of them that I want to show you how we can use a function inside Audacity, another function I didn't show you guys yet, how to fix a sound really quick. So I have over here this sound for crows, and when I click on it, first thing you're going to notice in the background is that there's this generator sound that's happening, and you don't want that. It gets really loud, and in our scene there is no such generator in the background. So first off, when I do get a sound online, I always save them the way that you see them over here. So you have the name of the sound, crow, to me, so I know what it is to identify it. I have the sound ID, and then after I put the license at the end. So if it's 0 attenuation, I put 0. Now let's go get it together. If I double click over here and get the sound ID and go inside freesound.org, of course that's always where I get my sounds. It's the best library out there to get free sound, and I have my own channel over there if you want to check on Deathscyp on free sound. I copy this over here and click OK, and right away you're going to see that it brings up the sound that I was just playing. So you can go ahead and get that sound if you don't have it yet, and if you do, grab it and let's bring it inside Audacity. Again, this is going to help you if you have it, but you don't have to do that part if you don't want to. It's just to show you how I do it. Now, getting inside here, what's lucky for us is that the sound is constant and it's always in the background. So even when the birds are singing, you can hear it. So instead of having to go and delete the birds that we want to keep, we can isolate the sound that we don't like over here. Let's just grab a little part over here, go inside effect and grab the noise reduction effect into Audacity and just click on get noise profile. So what this is going to do is that it's going to identify this this sound wave inside our track, and if I go again and select the whole track and click effect and repeat noise reduction, and you're going to notice right away that they are gone. And if I play the scene once more, we barely hear it, but we still do. So in order to truly get rid of it, go to effect and repeat it once more. Oops, sorry, I always make that mistake. Make sure to have everything selected first and do it once more. Now if I play the sound once more, there you have it. Now you have the sound clear as day, and you isolated what you wanted to keep. So that's a nice little trick if you didn't know it, that now you know. So now to make my sounds very simple, I just clipped the parts that I wanted to hear. So this was probably crow 1, crow 2 over here, crow 3 there, and you can easily just file and edit, and you can go and export and selected audio. Best way would be to cut out whatever you don't want like this, and then just save this part and then Control Z and get whatever you need again, and so on and so forth. So now that you have your sound, let's move forward. I'm not going to close this, just put this away. And once you bring them inside your scene, what you're going to notice right off the bat is that you might lose a little bit of quality. So let's say I have my sound that you heard just now, and I'm going to play it again. You're gonna notice that the sound, oh, actually this one is already fixed, so it's just, okay, anyways, let's go with this ambient sound over here. What you might notice when you bring sounds inside Unreal Engine is that you might lose a little bit of quality, or the sound might sound a little bit less loud. And the reason being is when you actually update or import a sound into Unreal, the compression quality is going to be set to 40 by default, on 100 being your 100% of the sound. Now, setting it to 100 is likely to be the logical answer to fix your problem, but it doesn't always work as intended. Maybe they fixed it in a future version, and if that's the case, well, good for you guys. In our case, it's not already fixed. So just make sure to put it to 100, and also you might have to play a little bit with the volume just to get the desired sound effect that you want. In our case, I'm happy with this for the sound we're doing. Now, identify all the sounds that we brought inside the scene as accorded to what you want to recreate. So we have the ambience, outdoor loop, the crow 1, 2, 3, 4, and the iconic crow that you hear, and everything that you hear outside. I like this one. I find it's really funny, so I wanted to put it inside my scene. And you have the stream over here for the water. Now the second thing you're gonna have to check is you want your ambient sound to be looping as it says in the title, but if you double click inside, you're gonna notice that the looping is not on by default. So make sure to check that if that's the case for you, if you want it to be looping. Same thing for the streaming, and I already did that, and I already did the compression quality for all the other sounds, so you can go ahead and recreate this if you want to. Now that we have that, let's do our scene over here. Now you're gonna notice this, it's a bit hard for me to move right now, so this maybe give me a better space. You're gonna understand in a second why I did that. Is let's go and create our stream ambient sound. So just click over here on the top left and ambient sound, and just drag this inside our scene, and you're gonna notice it went really out of bound. And then let's drag our stream and put it, oh, it's already there, because I was selected on it. Perfect. So in our case, we ask ourselves, I'm always playing in the persistent level, by the way, don't forget that. We want to play the sound when the player gets close to the stream, because it's not normal that you hear the water when you're all the way down here. So what we're going to do, first off, we're going to overwrite attenuation, and right away you're going to notice that this is insanely far, so let's just fix these boundings over here. Let's put this to, I think I'm okay with 400 here, but I'm going to decrease the fall off and put this to maybe 1500. That makes about sense. You start hearing the water when you're here, and by the time you're over here you should hear it pretty loud, which is normal for me. Now in our case, if I jump inside the level now and get this, save and jump inside, you're going to notice that I hear the water. And oh yeah, forgot about this. Once I reach over here, you can notice that when I start looking left and right, that the sound is trying to follow you. If you have smart stereo set, you're gonna hear the sound jumping from the left to the right speaker. And in a realistic scene, this wouldn't happen, because water is a pretty loud sound in general, and you're going to notice this when you're outside. You're not going to notice that the water is actually changing side unless there's a waterfall next to you, and even then the sound is normally abundant and loud, so you can hear it from everywhere. So to get rid of this, you have to click on Specialize over here. What that does actually is that, like it says over here, it enables the source to be positioned in a 3D space. And what that means is that you know when they say the 7.1 surround sound for your gaming experience for your headset, well, that's what it is. If the player behind you is clicking his gun and he's exactly behind on the left side, you're gonna hear it on your left side of your headset, so that you notice where he is in the 3D space. But in our case, we just want to have an attenuation. So we just want to know how far it is and not whether it's left or right. In our case, since it's an abundant sound, that's going to be in the general atmosphere. So keep that in mind when you're playing. And just to show you guys the update with the newer version. On the right, I have an updated engine version 4.23 because I'm playing over here with the 4-17, and you can see that the settings they change a little bit. So instead of having them all like this in our scene on the left, you're gonna notice that now the attenuation has its own category, and you also have the specialization that's over here. So the specialization now is going to be the enable specialization. Now I know there's probably new settings that works differently, and I didn't go through them yet. Unreal is always changing stuff in the newer version, and in our case we're playing for the 4-17, so I want to make sure you get as much as you can over here. But just to show you that you can still do it in the future engine version, this is how you would do it for your scene. So let's close that up, and I don't care for saving, and go back in our scene. So now that we have that, let's add the rest. So we are gonna have to create our crow sound randomize, as we said. So just click here and right click and just make a cue, and let's call it SC for sound cue crow, and you can delete the rest. If you're working in the industry, you're gonna understand this is the proper naming convention. Then again, if you're not, who cares? Let's just go inside. And what is that? How come I have two? Okay, let's get rid of this one. And let's go inside. So now I have my crow. I'm going to go like this and simply drag the sounds you want to use. Mark cases. Let me grab them. Q. Alright, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doesn't matter the order because we're going to put them into a randomizer. Now if you've been following the episode, you know how to use the weight for the randomizer if you want one sound to stick out. If not, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to recreate this with you guys. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put a looping node. And then you're going to ask yourself, why don't I just put the sound over here to looping? Well, it's easy. It's because we have 5 sounds. So as soon as one of them would fire, it wouldn't stop, and then the next one would override it, and then you would hear those sounds and definitely, and it would drive you nuts. But if you put the sound looping after it got chosen, then it's only the one sound that got fired from the random picker that's going to be playing indefinitely. Actually, that is going to play once, and then it's going to go again and select a new sound for the next fire. So keep that in mind, to always put the looping after. And in our case, since we don't want it to fire constantly, we're going to add a delay node in front, just to make sure that there's always a delay before the player actually hears it. And let's put 5 to 10 seconds. In our case, that's going to be fine. You guys can play around with it afterward if you want to tweak it for other purpose. And finally, I'm going to add a modulator. And the modulator, what it's going to do is it's going to convert those 5 sound into 25,000 different sound, because it's going to play with the pitch and maybe not that much. It's going to play with the pitch and the sound for each time that the player hears it. So you can go ahead and recreate this, set it up as you want, and there we are done. So you can close this up, and let's try it in our scene. So now we already have a sound, ambient sound over here. Where is it? Oh, okay, there it is. And let's just copy it. So Alt drag a new copy. In our case, I'm going to place them around the scene, normally close to trees, because in a logic world, you know that this is where the birds would be. So let's put them there, and let's put spatialize back on, and let's grab our new created cue and put it in. And then from here you can just copy them and drag them wherever there's trees, and you're going to notice that it's going to do the job. Now when you get close to over here, in our case there's going to be an elevator shaft over here that our player is going to drop from. So you don't want to put the sound too close to that, because it's going to be quite annoying. And also, you know what, I noticed this, I'm going to put this to 200 for the bird sound, and 1200 for preference, for personal preference over here. And I'm just going to keep them as far as I can from the elevator, just to make sure that the player doesn't hear the crows once he's inside the elevator, which would make sense in a game, really. And well, this we can fix it after. And there you have it. Once you're happy with what you got, you can just save everything and jump back inside your scene. And you're going to notice that there's already more life. But there's one thing missing. You're going to hear your birds coming around. You're going to hear your water. You're going to hear this when it breaks. But what's missing is a general feel for the environment. And as you can see over here, there's an abundance of wind since we added our little particle effect. So what's left to do is we're going to add our ambience. And to add it in a different way, we already used the ambient sound a bit over the scene. Let's add it using blueprints. So let's open up the level blueprint by clicking on the little controller here on my persistent level. If you don't have the level tab, you can easily go grab it from the level over here, Windows, level tab. And inside our level, we're going to go for event begin play and just drag in our add audio component. Actually, we're just going to drag in our sound and it's going to make this right away. And it's going to create our audio component for our background. And right away, if you look in the setting, the auto activate is going to be on. In our case, since the ambient is only going to kick in after the player gets out of the elevator, you don't want to trigger it automatically. Right now, it doesn't matter since we're not there yet, but just to plan in the future, let's get this ready. And you can already make a variable by right-clicking on the return value and promote it to variable. Call it background sound effects and save. But now it's not going to play. So just to have it play, let's do a fade in. And what that node is going to do, you guess it, is going to fade in your sound. Right now the duration is too low. Let's put it to 5. And you can choose what's the sound, the volume is going to be when it gets out. The 100% of your sound is 1. So if you leave it at 1, after 5 seconds it should be at 1. So now let's jump back inside our scene and you should have your effect. Where am I? I'm lost in my own level. Where am I? Okay, there it is. So I jump inside my level. And there you have it. Now you have your wind, you have your birds, you get close to the bridge and you hear the water. All this can be fixed the way you want it. And there you have it. Well, hope you enjoy this. Like always, leave a like and subscribe if you like what you see. Next episode, we're going to be working on our footsteps. We're going to make the smart material physic property for our anim notification. So see you next time.